Welcome to Memorial Gym in Charlottesville, where it's the ACC opener for both the Wolfpack of NC State and the Virginia Cavaliers here on ACC Network coverage of college wrestling. The nation's longest dual match winning streak on the line as the fourth-ranked Wolfpack work their way in to Mem Gym for this battle, the back-to-back ACC champions in town to take on Virginia. And the introductions being made as we speak. Easy to see why North Carolina State comes in with that fourth ranking in the country. They return all 10 starters from that ACC championship squad a year ago, including 6 All-Americans on display for you here in this one tonight. In fact, you look at the talent on both sides when you browse across these rosters. 13 wrestlers that are ranked in their respective weight classifications will be on display in this Friday night duel. That's nearly half of the ranked wrestlers in ACC competition coming into the weekend. A strong showing for the ACC. We'll talk about a little bit of that across the first weekend or so of the new year, and a strong showing for these two teams, that much is sure. We'll get into that as well. But a couple of matches to keep an eye on in this one. At 157, of course, Hayden Hidlay, one of the Hidlay brothers. And Hayden, of course, perfect all-time in ACC action at 23-0. He's going to go against UVA's Justin McCoy, who is ranked 16th in that classification. Hidlay coming in ranked number 2 in the country in that classification at 157. And then, of course, you're going to be waiting throughout the evening to get to that heavyweight bout. A pair of wrestlers both cracking the top 20 in their respective weight classification. That's NC State's Devontae Wilson, and UVA will have Quinn Miller on the mat at that point. But a lot to do between here and there. 10 matches starting in that 125 weight classification and going up to that heavyweight bout. Mentioned the impact of these two squads so far on the year. One thing they have in common, that's their opponents. They both have dueled it out with Gardner-Webb and Appalachian State, respectively. Now, I should be specific. That was more of a wrestling meet with Appalachian State that was not of the dual variety. So just the 1-0 record for UVA, a 2-0 mark for North Carolina State. 42-0 over Gardner-Webb, 24-12 over Appalachian State. That's how they earned their way here. And we are ready to go in this duel at Memorial Gym in Charlottesville. This should be quite the battle tonight, and it begins with Jacob Camacho, the highly regarded member of that NC State Wolfpack squad, going toe-to-toe with Patrick McCormick. McCormick coming in at 4-2 on the year, and Camacho at a perfect 3-0. He is ranked 6th in this 125-pound weight classification. These two filling one another out in the beginning stages. Think about the 42-0 victory over Gardner-Webb, the 24-12 victory over Appalachian State. For Coach Pat Papalizio, the reigning ACC Coach of the Year. Won that award once again in 2020 for NC State as they swept the conference awards. He's in his 9th season now. Picked up his 200th win, did Coach Papalizio, in that contest against Appalachian State a week ago. Nothing in the first minute of the initial round between McCormick and Camacho. Of course, University of Virginia led to the charge by head coach Steve Garland. Said he was pleased with what he saw from his team, especially like the work of a couple of key leaders for him, both Hayes and Aiello. Louis Hayes coming in 12th in his classification. We'll see him at 133. And then, of course, everybody familiar with Jay Aiello, who comes in 3rd in the 197-pound classification. Early point, escape point for Virginia after NC State works its way on the board with Camacho picking up a pair. Midway point of the initial round between these two. Camacho, a redshirt sophomore out of Danbury, Connecticut. Second-team All-American in this classification a year ago, NCAA qualifier and ACC champion in his own right. And talk about making impact right away. His first senior-level freestyle event, placed 7th at the U.S. Senior Nationals in 2020. So very talented young man to get things started for NC State. And again, unblemished at 3-0, as is the case for so many of these wrestlers we will see tonight. He grows to 4-1. just ahead of this reset as we await Patrick McCormick. Working to the down position. Finds himself trailing by 3, 37 seconds remaining in the opening round of the duel between 4th-ranked NC State and the University of Virginia. Again, the ACC opener for both of these squads. And you can hear the limited crowd in Mim Gym as the point total for UVA is doubled. A couple of escapes from McCormick to pull himself within a pair. Just the fans and the staff, all you're going to have, and a takedown making it 6-2 now. As Camacho shows his skills toward the end of this opening round. The 125-pound bout with McCormick. Just on the very edge of the circle as time expires. And the initial round goes to Jacob Camacho by a count of 6-2. Camacho, second-team All-American. That, of course, was from WCA, seeded 10th for the 2020 NCAA championships. A result of his outstanding work a year ago. Finds himself in the down position now, as Patrick McCormick will attempt to be the aggressor. Takes that offensive spot as we begin round number 2. McCormick for UVA is an inside the Commonwealth product. And he's 4-2 on the year, was 12-5 a season ago, including 5-2 in dual matches and 1-0 in dual matches of the ACC variety. .90 seconds remaining in the middle round. Things having held steady since the start of this round. And you talk about some individuals that you can't wait to see tonight. The first 3 wrestlers at least anticipated. Some question as to who exactly will be on the mat in the 133 classification for NC State, but a potential to see a young man ranked 6th here in Camacho, Jared Trombley, who's ranked in the top 20 in his class at 133, and 10th ranked Tariq Wilson. In the 3rd classification at 141, right at the gate, we could see, when you factor in Louis Hayes, who will wrestle for UVA in that 133 weight class up next, we could see 4 ranked wrestlers in the first 3 bouts between these two, and that's going to be a trend of things to come throughout. Lead growing ever so slightly up to 7-2 as you see these two struggle for positioning. Inside the final half minute now of the second round, and now some separation beginning to be developed as Camacho really showing his skills toward the closing stages. Finished out that first round very strong, and now Camacho doing the same thing again here as he raises his point total toward the end of the second round. Got it. We'll have a reset here with 23 seconds remaining in this, the second round. Of the opening duel between the Wolfpack and Virginia. Again, back-to-back ACC championships. Doesn't get much better than how it has been for fans in Raleigh, North Carolina, in ACC competition of late. You can see one of the reasons why is another of these youngsters off to a very solid start. And we're just under 20 seconds remaining in the second period. The second round between these two getting us underway tonight. The lead sizable. It's held steady at 7 for some time now. McCormick nearly to his feet and nearly having pulled Camacho all the way outside the circle. There's the whistle with just 4 seconds remaining. McCormick back to that down position once more. Remember, he's a young man moving into the lineup to fill that spot left by the departure of Jack Mueller, who was a 3-time All-American for UVA. Still discussion about the type of leader he was from Coach Steve Garland. Big shoes to fill, and McCormick leading things off for Virginia. Keeps it about where it was for the majority of that second round, and here comes the third and final round between these two in the 125-pound classification, with NC State a commanding 9-2 lead behind Camacho. Wow, just a tremendous physical ability on display, and now they will hear the whistle as McCormick pulls just a bit closer with that move. Mentioned NC State coming in on the nation's longest winning streak, 2-0 in duels so far this year. Fresh off the first ever undefeated duel season in school history. Dating back to 19, they have now won 19 straight duels. Next closest, Iowa at 13. That's how good NC State has been. And again, picking up Coach Papalizio's 200th career victory at the helm of the Wolfpack with that win over Appalachian State last Friday. Enough breathing room appearing to be here for Camacho at the moment if this is going to end up being a victory by decision. So you know, for McCormick, with only a minute or so remaining, he's thinking about that one path to flipping the script. We'll see Louis Hayes next, who did win by fall in his battles with Gardner Webb a week ago. Really the leader of the Virginia charge with his effort against the running Bulldogs last time around. Before that comes, 45 exciting seconds left in this one, as the lead having grown for Camacho to 14-6. And just over a half minute left to settle it. And now Camacho on the verge now of turning this into a major decision if he can finish this final half minute with strength. As we talk so much about honors, and even Hunter Lewis, the redshirt freshman, another, not a name we've called yet, co-wrestler of the week in the ACC. So the honors abound for NC State, and showing why they come in fourth in the country and the gold standard in the ACC behind Jacob Camacho to begin things. It will end up being a victory by major decision for Jacob Camacho to kick things off for North Carolina State as they take the 125-pound classification. And there was a question as to whether it was going to be Jarrett Trombley, who, as I mentioned, came in 15th in the country in the 133-pound classification, or Ryan Jack. And it's going to be Jack, a perfect 5-0 on the year for Ryan Jack of NC State. He'll go toe-to-toe with the also aforementioned Louis Hayes, who also has that perfect mark of 5-0. Hayes ranked 12th in the classification. So the potential for the 12th versus 15th ranked battle. Instead, it's Jack and a pair of strongly unbeatens, 10-0 combined between these two. NC State squad. We talked about the back-to-back championships of the ACC. Remember, they're going for a fourth straight regular season title. When it comes to dual championships, their dominance extends far beyond. 3 straight, 3 times in school history tells you it's nothing new for the Wolfpack. 2018 to 20, of course, the streak that is in effect now. 2000 to 02, 1981 to 83, but they have never won 4 in a row, something they're trying to do in this unusual of all seasons. One of the ways you do that, being very good on the road. It's an NC State team, 26 of 28 duels on the road over the last 6 years have gone their way. 10-2 against ranked teams. And 36-4 away from the friendly confines of Reynolds Coliseum since 2016. Yes, the numbers are eye-popping. It is, as I mentioned earlier, the gold standard in terms of ACC competition. And a scrappy Louis Hayes with Ryan Jack toe-to-toe here. And there's a moment they will relish inside Mim Gym. Hayes from that aggressive position finds himself in the offensive posture. Loving what they're seeing from the Illinois native to this point, the Carl Sandburg High School product in Orland Park. Work their way back to the middle. Of course, an NCAA qualifier in 20, third place finisher in the ACC. Was Louis Hayes, and finding himself stacked up against Ryan Jack, another of those Connecticut Pipeline natives for the crew out of Raleigh. Jack, another youngster. We talked about the 10 returners and 6 All-Americans that are back for NC State, but think about this. He's another out of that freshman class. High School Excellence Award winner and 4-time Connecticut State champion, as well as a 2-time Connecticut Wrestler of the Year. That's the challenge that is out in front of Louis Hayes right now. So after a brief stoppage, just a half-minute remaining in the opening round between Hayes and Jack. A 3-2 lead for NC State's Ryan Jack. And again, with very limited time remaining in this opening round, he goes back to work with that slimmest of margins. A man trained at Empire Wrestling Academy, along with a number of those in this freshman class for NC State. Highly regarded and living up to that hype with the unblemished mark to start his career. And tries to work Hayes to the mat, right on the edge of the circle. But the resilient Louis Hayes coming right back at him. And he comes back at him with such strength that he will work his way to a 5-3 advantage. Just 1 second remaining. And there you saw how quickly it expired. So the initial round between Louis Hayes and Ryan Jack saw Hayes come from the early deficit, and he'll carry the slight advantage into this second round. Louis Hayes, 3 wins by pin, a tech fall in a major decision a part of the 5-0 start to this his redshirt senior campaign. As I mentioned, he was the catalyst, and high praise from Coach Steve Garland for both Hayes and Aiello. Talked about his team's effort in that first of their duels, the only duel they participated in this year against Gardner-Webb. He said he was pleased with the way they were able to bite down and gut out victory in a number of those matches in which they were really challenged by that crew out of the Southern Conference. One of the main reasons for that victory, they were so good in terms of riding time, bonus points becoming a major factor. A week ago, one of the areas he wanted to see them continue to excel across the course of the year. At 6'3", the margin growing ever so slightly for Louis Hayes. Just about 55 seconds and working downward. Remaining in the second round between these two in the 133-pound classification. And Louis Hayes, content for the moment. And the advantage he holds and the aggressive posture he continues to build upon it. It's now an 8-3 advantage for Hayes. As the waning seconds, working our way inside of 15 or so now. Remaining in the second round. So after Jacob Camacho, by major decision, took the first battle against Patrick McCormick of UVA, Louis Hayes bouncing back nicely to answer the bell for Virginia through 2 rounds. He has an 8-4 advantage over Ryan Jack. This UVA team boasting 11 undefeated wrestlers on the young season, incorporating 8 of the projected dual starters that are expected to be there when the dust settles on the year, one of which you're watching right now in Louis Hayes, who has a strong showing against Ryan Jack, trying to even this duel overall with NC State at 1 match victory apiece. Attempting to take this the second bout of the night, and with 1:20 remaining, the advantage at 8-5. I expect to have the bug back for you in the 141-pound classification here in just a moment. But we'll keep you informed on the time as it winds on down. And Louis Hayes in an effort to attempt to salt away what is an 8-5 lead at the moment. Now one of these two going to taste their first setback of the season as we go inside a minute. And Hayes with the takedown, upping his total to double digits now. He's doubled up Ryan Jack at 10-5. If this ends up settled by decision. You know Hayes, who, as I mentioned, has 3 victories by fall on the year, has other things in mind, but just 30 seconds to do it here. As he holds a 10-6 lead as we go inside the final 20 seconds of this battle for the dual victory of the 133-pound ranks. Inside of 10, Hayes hanging on. And as the final seconds tick down, it's going to be Louis Hayes evening things up for Virginia. He will take, by a count of 10-6, the second duel of the night. So Camacho a winner in the 125-pound classification for NC State, and now Louis Hayes with the answer for UVA, and he continues to improve in this an impressive redshirt senior season. As it now becomes a battle between one of the University of Virginia captains, Brian Courtney, And Tariq Wilson, who is entering tonight in the top 10 in the 141-pound weight classification. You can see why. Very aggressive on the start is Wilson. And he will take Courtney down, but outside the circle there. Wilson at 3-0, Courtney at 4-0 coming in. For Virginia, Courtney with a pair of pins on the year and a win by technical fall in the opening weekend at Appalachian State. He also has 4 bonus point victories, an area, as we discussed, that has been so strong for Virginia on the young season. But his hands full with Wilson here. As you can see, the slight lead as we work our way through the opening round between these two. The battle at 141. Wilson out of the state of Ohio. Another of those All-Americans. NC State loaded with them, as you might expect. The back-to-back title winners, the 3-time regular season title winners in a row here. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when you look at the history for NC State. 8 NCAA titles, 45 All-Americans, 17 ACC championships, and 125 ACC titles overall. We talk about their regular season impact and the individual work that has been done. A team ranked 4th in the country coming in, but with aspirations even more lofty than that. And an attempt to build upon the 4-2 advantages. The whistle will create the reset. Wilson is up 6-2 on Courtney. And there's Wilson with the strength on display once more. See what Courtney can do from the down position here. Wilson, you'll remember, was a 2-time NCAA qualifier, one class down at 133 in his first 2 campaigns in Raleigh. Now moving up to 141 and moving up with a great deal of energy and expectation, ranked in the top 10 in that his new class. He was seeded 15th for the NCAA championships in 2020, year in which he went 24-6 overall, 9-1 in duels, and 4-1 in ACC action. This, at least for the moment, the rubber match for the lead in this ACC opening duel for both NC State and Virginia's. Jacob Camacho took the 125-pound class, and Louis Hayes answered for Virginia in the former classification of the young Mr. Wilson. Hayes taking the 133-pound. With a 10-6 decision. But as the final seconds tick off the opening round between these two, it is advantage Wilson at 6-3. Courtney to work from the down position to open the second round. Courtney out of Pennsylvania, went to Athens Area High School, now in his redshirt junior season for Virginia. 22 wins, 8 victories against 6 setbacks in dual action a year ago, but off to a solid, we said, at 4-0 start. This is one of many times tonight. It's remarkable when you look up and down the statistical sheet for both of these squads that we've got 2 guys going head-to-head, one of them going to experience their first setback of the year here. Yes, it's early, but with most of these young men 4-5 matches under their belts. Here are another couple of guys without having tasted defeat to this point. It's Wilson having worked out front early and he has stayed there. As we close in on the final minute of the second round. Courtney closing up just a little bit as he worked away. Clock slides over 1 minute. Wilson will not give Courtney an advantage there. A lot of chatter inside of Mim Gym. That's coming mostly from the benches, mostly from the coaching staffs. It's due to all the protocols made necessary by the unusual times in which we're living. The usual crowd you're going to get for one of these ACC duels, but plenty of energy in Memorial Gym nonetheless, as even is now found by Courtney. Well, he has made solid use of these closing moments in the second round and is in position now to head into a decisive, potentially third round with things all knotted up at 6 apiece. So a strong second round for one of the UVA captains, Brian Courtney. You'll see a couple of them back-to-back with Denton Spencer due up next against NC State's Ed Scott in the 149-pound classification. But it is Brian Courtney, to the delight of the fans inside Memorial Gym right now, who was in a nobody has flinched yet contest with the 10th ranked wrestler in this classification, NC State's Wilson. Look at the lower body strength of Wilson, and somehow Courtney uses his momentum to remain in that aggressive posture. 90 seconds to settle this one. Such a struggle for that elusive 7th point for both these wrestlers. And they remain at 6-6, just over a minute left in the allotted time. Once again, trying to use that lower body strength, that leg strength. Here's Wilson. He is not able to secure the reversal, at least not yet, on Courtney. Courtney hanging tough from a position he has secured and had not relinquished. Under a half minute. Will this be settled in the allotted 3 rounds? Or the near turn for Wilson inside of 10 seconds. He's able to take the advantage in the closing seconds, and it is going to be a closed out for the 10th ranked wrestler in the 141-pound classification. Impressive in nature, just the way he was able to still battle underneath, with Courtney providing so much energy and so much of that match in which he was the aggressor. But credit Wilson with the way he was able to finish down the stretch, and shows everybody inside Memorial Gym why he has that high ranking coming into tonight. So now Ed Scott taking over for NC State, and another of those UVA captains, Denton Spencer. Spencer 1-0. Ed Scott coming in at 2-1. These two teams having battled 74 times. NC State leading the series 39-34-1. Been a series that it's been marked by streaks. NC State winning 6 straight. But prior to this run, it was Virginia having won 7 in a row. Of course, Steve Garland an even 7-7 against NC State during his time as the head coach of this Virginia program, in a series that dates all the way back to the 1920s. First ever match between these two, 1925, a 15-10 victory for Virginia over NC State. But it's been NC State against most of their ACC foes and a lot of folks around the country in recent years. Ed Scott and Denton Spencer. Locked into quite the battle here. NC State with a one-duel advantage at this point, thanks to Wilson and Camacho, who have both been winners. By major decision in the case of Camacho, by decision with the late securing of points in the final 10 seconds for Wilson to nail down that 8-6 win. Louis Hayes sandwiched in between with a 10-6 victory by decision for UVA. No score yet in this one between Scott and Spencer. And just under 90 seconds remaining in the opening round. Locked into the battle as we close in on the final minute of round 1. Again, these two still looking for their initial points. Scott just the one setback at 2-1 on this season when you look across the strong start for both these two. Ed Scott, another one of those wrestlers out of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Dubois High School, Dubois, Pennsylvania. Still nothing on the board on either side. 45 seconds now remaining in the opening round between these two. They're the very young wrestlers is Ed Scott, a freshman there in Raleigh. Quite the young group. It's remarkable how many impactful young wrestlers they have when you consider the 10 returners and the 6 All-Americans. And you see how impressive those youngsters are. That takedown providing the 2-0 lead for Ed Scott. As we close in on the final 10 seconds of the opening round between these two. Looks like it's going to be a slight lead for Ed Scott heading into the second round between them. So Ed Scott, a 4-time district, 4-time regional champ, who was 3rd at the state championships in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as a freshman, and ended up finishing his career with 151 wins, a record for the most wins in his area, including 100+ career pins, 105 of them there in District 9. You'll have the advantage going into the second round here, and exploits it against Denton Spencer. Spencer limited action on the year, but as I mentioned, sitting at 1-0. Spencer, you'll remember, those of you who've been following the program, the transfer from Gardner-Webb, the most recent opponent of UVA, had a nice showing against his former teammates, the Running Bulldogs, his last time out to secure that first of victories. He's out of the state of Georgia, Camden County High School in Waverly, Georgia. Third place finisher in this classification in the ACC in 2020. Spencer, who ranked 8th in the country in pins last season with 10 against D1 competition. And it combined just over 16 minutes of work. You can see the deficit he faces at the moment with Ed Scott carrying a sizable lead in the final minute of the second round. Scott trying to give NC State a little breathing room, make it 3 out of the first 4 for the Wolfpack. Windmill Spencer down to the mat. And in doing so, the lead at 8-1. Spencer, an effort to create any kind of movement, as it is all Scott right now with just over 10 seconds remaining. Looks to carry a sizable advantage into the third round. And will do so. So 8-1 the advantage for Ed Scott over Denton Spencer as they head into the final round of action between the two of them. Well, everything elevated when you think in terms of the condensed schedules that teams are playing this season. Think about where Virginia is in the midst of its schedule right now. 4th-ranked NC State here at home, and then 8th-ranked Virginia Tech, the Commonwealth Clash on the road next weekend. The two ranked foes on that condensed schedule for Virginia being faced back-to-back. So this is the time for Steve Garland's squad that they need to find their peak. But Ed Scott making that hard on Denton Spencer right now, as he looks to be working toward a major decision at the very least with 1:10 remaining. Scott, interestingly enough, for all the prowess he has showed here and the ability you are seeing from this young man, is sandwiched in between the other 7 of the first 8 wrestlers we will see, who are all boasting some type of ranking. And the top 20 in their respective weight classifications. Scott not there, but easy to see how and why he could be before all is said and done. Holds a commanding 10-1 lead into the final half minute. And Scott trying to get Denton Spencer turned, but it was not to be there. And a whistle as they depart the circle with just over 20 seconds remaining. So Jacob Camacho, a major decision victory. Virginia answering with Louis Hayes, a 10-6 decision. 10th-ranked wrestler in the 141-pound classification, bounced back with an 8-6 win, a late move for Wilson to give NC State that win. And now Ed Scott, having taken an advantage of 10, he'll make it 11. Check that, 12 when all is said and done. When you factor it all together, it's a 13-1 another of those major decision wins for NC State, and the Wolfpack have taken 3 out of the first 4 matches. And now here comes that run, potentially. You know, you don't know exactly yet, not a complete confirmation on who's going to wrestle the 184-pound classification. But with Hayden Hidley due up here, Thomas Bullard, Daniel Bullard going back-to-back, then Trent Hidley bookending the 2 pairs of brothers. They're ranked 2nd, 10th, 12th, and 4th, respectively, if Trent Hidley does wrestle in the 184-pound battle against Batista for UVA. Those 4 wrestlers ranked in a row, behind, as I mentioned, Camacho and Wilson, who was 10th in his class, coming in. It's just a full run of very talented wrestlers. This is one of the ones, though, that you highlighted coming in. This one here between Hayden Hidley and Justin McCoy. McCoy at 4-0, 16th in his classification. And Hidley, one of the better wrestlers in all the land, at 3-0 to this juncture, and the early lead goes to McCoy. So looking to bounce Virginia back in a duel that they currently trail by a count of 11-3 overall, following those wins in 3 of the first 4 battles for NC State. It's a good, strong showing for McCoy to begin things. McCoy, who had a pair of first period wins and a major decision just across the season opening weekend alone, has 4 bonus point victories. Each of those wins coming of that variety. Hidley closing it up just a bit. Remember, Hidley, a perfect 23-0 all time against ACC foes in every college match in which he's performed. He has tasted victory against ACC opponents. That's 15-0 in duels, 14-0 against ranked foes. And as I mentioned, a perfect mark already this season as well. McCoy, 2 falls, the 1 tech, the 1 major decision. And this is nothing new for these 2 to go head-to-head. Locking horns as we speak. They faced off twice last year. Both of those major decision victories by Hidley. 14-1 in the duel and 11-2 at the ACC championship a year ago. And as they fill one another out through this opening round, it's McCoy with that early deuce still hanging on to the 2-1 advantage. Boy, could have changed right there for Hidley. And now he tries to drive McCoy to the mat. And in doing so, will successfully reclaim the lead, or claim the lead for the first time in this his bout, as he looks to make it 3 consecutive bout victories for NC State in 4 out of 5. Taking on the 16th ranked wrestler in this class, is the 2nd ranked wrestler in the country in the 157-pound classification, Hayden Hidley. And it's Hidley 3-2 over McCoy. What a first round this has been. Final seconds wind down. It is going to be that slimmest of advantages for Hidley as we work into the 2nd round here, and Hidley to the down position. Mentioned there are 2 sets of brothers that potentially, if Trent Hidley wrestles in the 184-pound classification, you could see in the succession of the next 4 matches. Thomas Bullard, Daniel Bullard, due up in the 165 and 174 pound weight classifications respectively. Talk about brotherly love. They have it there in Raleigh. I think interesting when you hear the Heidleys talk about wrestling alongside one another. You know, one of them ranked second in his class. The other one also in the top 5, ranked 4th in his class in the case of Trent Heidley. And they talk about how it's more difficult for them to watch the other than it is to wrestle themselves. It's easier for me, pressure on, knowing what I'm doing, but when I have to watch him, then I'm all nerves. And there's the essence of the respect that brothers have for one another. So often it is a battle for positioning between those siblings, but when push comes to shove and somebody else is across the way, we talk about how much more difficult it is for them to watch their brother battle in the ring than anything they've ever had to do on their own. Just the one additional point for Heidley in this second round, and as we close in on the final half minute of round 2, his lead having creeped up to 4-2. Well, an All-American in 18, 19, and 20. Out front by a count of 4-2 as the second round comes to a close, and it will be the ACC's Wrestler of the Year from the 2020 campaign who will carry the advantage forward by a count of 4-2. U23 World Team member, trying to become NC State's first ever 4-time All-American. Just the 4th wrestler to earn it in 3 consecutive years. Think about his career won-loss percentage, .929. And again, what is on the line as UVA's Justin McCoy hangs tough at down just 1 at 4-3 is that unbeaten streak against ACC opponents. At 23-0 all-time in conference competition, 15-0 in duels, 14-0 in situations like this in which he looks across at another individual who is also ranked. McCoy sitting at 16th. So these are the moments in which Hayden Heidley has risen to the occasion across his potentially unmatched career there in Raleigh, North Carolina. Depending on what he can do here in this his final run. But McCoy holding his own. McCoy, one of the handful of UVA wrestlers also receiving high marks and high praise coming into the year. Living up to that as with a half minute to go, still in it, though Heidley slides away just a bit at 6'3". The redshirt sophomore out of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, here representing the Commonwealth of Virginia. With just a few seconds now to turn the tide and keep the usual from taking place, and it looks like it's going to be just that for Hayden Heidley. Heidley 24-0 all-time against ACC foes now, and 16-0 in duels, 15-0 against ranked opponents in conference action as he secures the 6-3 decision over Justin McCoy. Boy, great work by McCoy. He stayed right in there to the end, but Hayden Heidley just a little too strong as he improves. As I mentioned, a 24-0 all-time in ACC play. What a way to bring it close to our first half of action here. NC State winning 4 of the first 5 battles behind Camacho, Wilson, Scott, and now Hayden Heidley, who remains unblemished on the year and unblemished in ACC play all time. A lot more to come, including that long-awaited heavyweight battle between Wilson, and Miller coming up here in just a bit. You'll want to hang with us. We'll have more coverage of tonight's duel, the ACC opener for both Virginia and NC State, here on the ACC Network on the other side of this brief pause. Back to action with the second half of this ACC opening duel between NC State and Virginia. Fourth-ranked Wolfpack up with a team score of 14-3 overall by virtue of 4 wins in the first 5 bouts against the homestanding Virginia Cavaliers. Welcome back inside Memorial Gym in Charlottesville. A little bit of a rainy night here, but a good day to be indoors. Good evening to be indoors and enjoying battle between some of the best. We talked about it in the open. You think in terms of the talent on these rosters, almost half of the ACC performers that came into the week ranked in the top 20 in their respective classifications on display here tonight, 13 of them total. Of course, you know NC State's roster inundated with them, and now we can turn our attention to the All-American twins due up here back-to-back. Thomas Bullard to lead things off, followed by Daniel Bullard. Thomas Bullard going toe-to-toe with Jake Keating of UVA. Keating at 5-0, Bullard at 1-1. He's ranked 10th in the classification. Keating ranked 19th. So another battle between 2 wrestlers, both ranked in the top 20 in their respective classifications to get us started on this 6th bout of the night, the 165-pound classification underway. Of course, the Bullard twins out of Lawrenceville, Georgia's Archer High School. Daniel Bullard, who will follow, also earning All-American honors alongside Thomas Bullard's All-American honors. Nothing on the board on either side just yet. As we wind our way into this 6th match, a little bit of a recap for you. Jacob Camacho getting things started with a major decision victory for NC State. And looks like the match started. You see it heat up here as we go into a little bit of a recap. Right in the middle of the circle, a 2-0 advantage having been secured by Keating. It was Jacob Camacho, the major decision over Patrick McCormick. Then Louis Hayes, a 10-6 decision, bouncing back for UVA against Ryan Jack. That's Virginia's only dual victory so far in this one. There's Tariq Wilson over Brian Courtney. Solid late move, determining that one at 8-6, the final decision. And a major decision for Ed Scott over Denton Spencer. Followed by, even though Justin McCoy gave him a run for his money, Hayden Hidley's latest exploits as he was able to run his streak to 24 in a row. NC State trying to run their streak to 20 straight. That's the longest streak of wins in duels in the country. And trying to make it 7 in a row against the University of Virginia in a series that has gone back and forth with those type of runs. So wild middle portion to closing portion, you might say, of the first round between Bullard and Keating. That, of course, Thomas Bullard, the first of the Bullard twins out of the Peach State. And it will be Keating carrying the 2-1 advantage into the second round of action. And he'll also find himself in that offensive position against Thomas Bullard. So once again, second half just started. This is the first time either of these teams have been in action in ACC play. NC State took down Gardner-Webb 42-0 and Appalachian State 24-12 to earn a 2-0 record overall coming in. Virginia played a round-robin format in that meet against Appalachian State, so their only victory coming in the Gardner-Webb battle a week ago. 44 points for Virginia, -1 penalty having been assessed. So it was a final one you don't see every day, a 44 to -1 in UVA's lone victory on the year. Steve Garland's team trying to carry some of that momentum forward here, but they're going to need a strong second half of this duel. And Keating trying desperately to get Bullard to the mat. It was not to be in terms of shutting it down, but he did double his point total as the near fall makes it 4-2 Keating. Locked back into it at 4-3 now, as the advantage holds at 1 for Keating. Final half minute and 2/3 of the way through this one. If he can hang on to this lead for 20 more seconds, it would be the 19th ranked Jake Keating out in front of Thomas Bullard, the first of the Bullard twins, and the 10th ranked wrestler in the 165-pound classification in all the land. Trailing by 1 if it holds across the final 3 ticks of round number 2, and it will. So Keating strong through 2 rounds against Bullard, as NC State's run of All-Americans in this duel continues from the front side of halftime to the back, but not without Jake Keating making his presence known for UVA. And into this, the final round, Bullard looking for the strength to flip Keating. Keating able to use enough leverage to hold the status quo with 90 seconds remaining. This would be just the second victory in the duel for Virginia. Louis Hayes taking down Ryan Jack in the 133-pound classification. In the second tilt of the night. Keating following up a strong performance in which Justin McCoy really challenged Hayden Heidling. And right here in the meat, in the heart of this NC State lineup, in the middle weights, Virginia showing the ability to at least make it very interesting against 2 of the best to line up in those Wolfpack colors. And Keating holds the advantage into the final 30 seconds at 4-3. Native of Illinois, with nothing awarded, still clinging to the slightest of advantages with 10 seconds to go. And down to 5. And you can hear him in Mim Jim as he is in the enviable position of control and will take the second victory of the night for Virginia. He'll do it by a count of 4-3. Jake Keating with a decision over Thomas Bullard. Put him alongside Louis Hayes, and now Virginia closes that gap just a bit after seeing the intermission arrive with NC State leading at 14-3. Now suddenly a little momentum as the second of the Bullard twins takes the mat for NC State. 12th ranked in his classification, 2-1 on the young season for Daniel Bullard. Takes on Vic Marcelli for Virginia. Marcelli, the redshirt sophomore out of the state of Ohio. As we told you, when Thomas Bullard was on the mat, these Bullard twins, in the case of Daniel, who's there now, out of Lawrenceville, Georgia's Archer High School. Prime location for ACC athletes. And couple All-Americans now wrestling in Raleigh after crossing the state line from Georgia, the Peach State products. He'll try to follow up and split the two matches he and his brother have performed in here in Charlottesville tonight. If he can do something with Victor Marcelli. Marcelli, 13 wins a season ago. He's from an athletic family in his own right. Had a sister, Marissa, who played softball at Cleveland State. And an older brother, Lucas, who before his passing wrestled at Case Western. Marissa, one of a couple of older sisters. And with that older brother, certainly tested along the way in that home. Marcelli at 3-1 coming in. Mentioned Daniel Bullard's record of 2-1. Well, what Pat Papalizio has seen from his squad so far going into the intermission had to be just about most of what he could have wanted, aside from that one battle in which Louis Hayes got the better of Ryan Jackett. Had been mostly NC State, even if Virginia had held things close in the case of McCoy and Heidelay and beyond. But the 9-year head coach of one of the strongest programs in the country, now looking for a bounce back from the second of his twins in the 165 and 174 pound classification. This 174 seeing Bullard against the unranked Vic Marcelli. And Daniel Bullard and Marcelli now will hear the whistle as they depart the circle. First round of the battle between these two. Daniel Bullard and Vic Marcelli just feeling one another out as it comes toward a close. So nothing scored in the opening period between these two, and the second round set to begin with advantage still up for grabs. Well, what a charge out of the intermission for Steve Garland's squad, the way Virginia closed down the first of those 5 matches behind McCoy and picked up with the 4-3 win for Keating. That carrying over to some degree with Marcelli going toe-to-toe with Bullard. Daniel Bullard, to be specific. No score after the opening round. Marcelli out of, as I mentioned, the state of Ohio. 13 wins a year ago. Only 3 matches dropped in the season decided by bonus points and 6 by 3 points or fewer. Speaks to how tight he has performed against his opponents along the way. Locked into it with Daniel Bullard right now. NCAA qualifier. 18, 19, 20 for this, the second of the combo of redshirt seniors. He graduated in May in the midst of all the craziness that has been this 2020 season with a degree in business administration already behind him, so the focus solely on what's happening in his athletic career moving forward for Bullard. And just a single point scored between the two of them. Marcelli, the lone escape, which stands as the difference with 10 seconds remaining in this, the second round. And that's where it's going to sit after 2. So the 174-pound classification, just as entertaining as each of the last 2 have been. After that major decision for Ed Scott, NC State and Virginia in the last 3 bouts, having been locked into very tight finishes. This one shaping up to be just that as well. Daniel Bullard goes into the down position, trailing Marcelli by 1. Again, 4th-ranked NC State. A couple of things on the line tonight as their head coach, fresh off his 200th career win. Pat Papalizio securing that against Appalachian State the last time out. 2020 ACC Coach of the Year. Honor he has received 2 of the last 3 seasons for his efforts there in Raleigh. They're trying to do a number of things tonight, among which are extend the nation's longest winning streak to 20. Closest, if you're wondering, Iowa, 13 consecutive for the Hawkeyes. Another Big Ten. This is an NC State squad as things go even at 1-1 here with 1 minute to go. They went 15-0 last season. Looking for 7 straight against UVA. In terms of these dual victories, they're trying to bounce back from a loss in the most recent bout at the hands of Jake Keating, and it looks like Bullard's going to be able to do that nicely. Daniel Bullard, after trailing in the middle stages, finds himself up 3-1 with 40 seconds remaining. Marcelli able to make the turn. Marcelli held that 1-0 lead for the longest time, but is in a tough spot now. And Daniel Bullard looking as if he is in position to pick up his brother and return NC State to the win column in this, the 174-pound division. Trying to make it 5 out of these 7 bouts going the Wolfpack's direction, and he'll do just that by salting away that 3-1 score that he had put into effect. He removes that band, shakes hands in the display of sportsmanship with Vic Marcelli, who gave him all he could handle there in the early going. But it is Bullard to return NC State to the win column. And we will end up seeing both pairs of brothers for NC State. The twins Bullard, who you just watched, and it will be Hayden Hidley's brother, Trent Hidley, who takes the mat now for NC State against Michael Batista. So there was some discussion whether it would be Hidley or Ferreira. It will be the 4th-ranked wrestler in the 184-pound classification in the nation that Batista will have to tangle with. Hidley without a record thus far on the year, as he does get the chance to go to work here. So good to see for NC State. He's able to get the nod here in the 174-pound class. Batista comes in at 4-0. And has a tough task ahead of him as he battles the latest of the Lewistown, Pennsylvania natives. First team All-American. The latest of the honors for the ACC Freshman of the Year now. And this is redshirt sophomore campaign. Junior World bronze medalist in 2019. The honors just keep on coming for Trent Hidley, as well as his brother Hayden Hidley, who was able to finish off Justin McCoy to the tune of a 6-3 victory when all was said and done. At the decision that closed down the first half with NC State out front 14-3 in team score. Once Virginia pulled a little closer, the Wolfpack now having evened them and going to close things out from a standpoint of the overall duel. If Hidley can finish strong against Batista. See the challenge there. These coaches, what an understanding. You hear them talk about this season and how unusual it has been, how difficult it is with the condensed schedule, how much time you spend away from the actual type of competition that you're accustomed to, how unusual it has been, the preparation style to get ready for these battles. And then now, for the first time in the 2021 calendar year, you see two ACC schools getting their first taste of in-conference action. And the intensity evident when Steve Garland appears on your screen, the head coach for UVA, and the same thing true for the reigning coach of the year and Pat Papalizio. Trent Hidley up to the advantage in the opening round. First team All-American, NWCA, redshirted in 18-19 before securing that in 19-20, and it's been quite the story. And his first senior level freestyle event, third in the 2020 U.S. Senior Nationals. Told you about that Junior World bronze medalist. Advancing to the semifinals before his first loss, 4-1 in the event overall, and defeated former national champion Drew Foster in the third place bout by a count of 7-4, one of the bright moments in the career of young Mr. Hidley. He'll have a chance to be the aggressor as he leads Batista 2-0, closing in on the final 10 seconds of the opening round. And now just 9 ticks to see if anything can be added to what is currently a slim advantage for Hidley. How often are you going to see two pairs of brothers and all exceptional enough to wrestle in succession with one another? Hayden Hidley, then the Bullard twins, and now Trent Hidley, and he will carry the lead into the second round against Michael Batista, who now gets the offensive look. Heading into round number 2. Batista, the redshirt junior out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Broad Run. Over those in Commonwealth products. Advanced to the third place match at the ACC Championships last go round. After starting in his career at UVA in the 174-pound classification, now up in wrestling here in the 184-pound class. Talked about his high school career, 2-time state champion in Class 5A here in the Commonwealth. And set the record at Broad Run for most points and takedowns in a career. Also found the time to letter 1 year in football while all of that was going on. And man who's been a volunteer coach, youth basketball, and has worked in wrestling camps, really finds ways to give back. Use his talent in a positive manner. Finds himself trailing Trent Hidley. Hidley looking to scratch himself into the win column here, and in doing so extend NC State's lead. Up to a strong 3-0 advantage in the second round as it winds on down. Talked about the ACC and how well the conference as a whole performed. We're getting into that for just a moment in the early stages of the 2021 calendar year, as it will be a 3-0 advantage that Trent Hidley takes forward into the third round against Batista. 4 teams ranked among the top 15 in the country. Of course, this NC State team leading the way. At 4th in the land, Virginia Tech at 8th, Pitt at 13th in North Carolina. The Wolfpack rival at 14th in the country. That follows the impressive 2019-2020 season that saw 4 teams ranked in the top 9 before everything was canceled. Once COVID became a factor. Of course, non-conference dual wins for the Wolfpack, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Virginia already. And now working into conference action. Tonight, just a taste of what it's going to be like. And where does it all culminate? Well, you now know there's going to be NCAA championships in March. That was music to the ears of these wrestlers. And the road there will go through the ACC championship, which will take place at NC State. The Wolfpack hosting on February 28th. It'll be a force to be reckoned with, and then you factor that you'll have to do it inside Reynolds as well. Makes it all the more challenging. But 31 wrestlers in the ACC in the top 20 in their respective classes starting this week. So that's quite a start for the Atlantic Coast Conference this wrestling season. Lead still at 3-0 as Heidley and Batista dance back and forth, closing in on the final minute of action. NC State looking to make it 6 out of 8, having surrendered matches to Louis Hayes in a 10-6 decision, and Jake Keating, who took down Thomas Bullard in a 4-3 decision. But Trent Heidley, the latest of the brothers Wolfpack, attempt to provide the bounce back that Coach Papalizio is looking for. And he's certainly in position to do just that. But it speaks to the competitive nature of both these teams and just how good they are. And the numbers certainly telling that story, but tonight backing that up. That through the first 8 matches, if it holds true for about 10 more seconds, there will not have been a bout decided by pin. Nobody having lost a bout by fall in this evening's contest, and that's through the first 8. But NC State does build the lead as this one goes to Trent Heidley and company, as he joins his brother Hayden Heidley among those who have come away victorious on the night for NC State. So 2 remaining, and it begins right here in the 197-pound classification. 3rd ranked in class for UVA is Jay Aiello. And he will go head-to-head with Nick Reenan of NC State. Of course, Aiello, the highest ranked in his classification of any of the UVA wrestlers up and down the roster. These two fill one another out as this battle gets underway. Aiello underneath as the whistle sounds from the departure of the circle. Aiello, the ACC champion at the 197-pound classification, a returning All-American for UVA, trying to claim what will be a 3rd victory for Virginia on the night. He has 3 pins through 4 matches in 2021, does Aiello. You can Let's see his aggression as he works on Renan. Aiello, another of those natives of the Commonwealth, representing the flagship university here in Charlottesville. All ACC each of the last 2 seasons, NCAA qualifiers as you might expect as well. Second straight year that he secured the ACC championship 197-pound classification, where he goes toe-to-toe tonight with Renan. Four-year letterman at Westfield High School and the 2016 6A champion at the 195-pound classification. Here's Aiello. Nothing on the board just yet as these two continue to fill one another out. Renan, the Lone Star State product, working his way to Raleigh from Dallas, Texas. Spent 2 years away from freestyle action before competing at the 2020 U.S. Senior Nationals. Went 2-2. Bad return for a long layoff. It was a 2019 NCAA qualifier and earned the number 7 seed before being forced to miss the ACC championships, and the rest history in that 2019-2020 season. Under a half minute to go in the opening round in the 197-pound weight classification. Nothing between Aiello and Renan on the board just yet. A man who wrestled up 2 weights as a senior in his prep career. Competing at 195, even though he weighed 175 at the time. Folks familiar with Highland Park High School in Dallas. That's where he wrestled his freshman year before closing out his career at Wyoming Seminary Prep. So 2 very talented performers on the mat. With Aiello and Renan neither having given an inch through the first round. One more to come. The heavyweight bout between Wilson and Miller still ahead. To close out a event that trending overall NC State, but has seen its moments in each of those corners. Throughout the night, plenty to build on for these two teams in this, their first ACC competition of the year. Boy, the right hand nearly there for Aiello. Renan able to avoid it. Just a single point belonging to Aiello. NC State squad 4th in the land coming in, longest winning streak for those of you just joining us in the entire country, 19 in a row dating back to 2019. Strong head strength for Aiello, though he is locked down at the moment. Before trying to get Renan turned here. Remember, talked about Aiello's start to the season. All but one of these matches in which he's been able to pin his opponent. No wrestler on either side having secured a victory by fall yet tonight. through 2 rounds. That has not been the case yet between Renan and Aiello in this one. It'll be just the slimmest of advantages for Aiello as they enter the 3rd and final round of action, with Nick Renan taking the down position. You can hear the chatter inside Memorial Gym in Charlottesville. Another of those tight contests. You think about how many of these have been settled by just a handful of points. Look back across the scores. 10-6, 8-6, 6-3, 4-3. I think the story of the night along the way, you did have the major decision for Jacob Camacho to get things going, and Ed Scott was dominant against Denton Spencer, but most everything else has been just like this. NC State looking to build upon their team lead, which sits right now at 20-6 over Virginia, with 1 minute remaining. And Aiello with the advantage of 1-0 as Virginia tries to close that 20-6 gap overall. It was 28-9 as NC State out-wrestled Virginia to open the ACC slate last season. It's the 2nd consecutive year they've opened the conference slate against one another. So at least for the moment, the similarities holding steady. Under a half minute to go. Aiello trying to hang on. Looking for a perfect 5-0 start to 2021. It would be Renan's first setback as well. This is the latest of the battles of unbeatens between these two. Just 3 ticks remaining. And by that advantage of 1-0, Aiello able to secure the decision. And in doing so, picks up Virginia's 3rd victory of the night. Bouts being won by Louis Hayes, Jake Keating, and now Jay Aiello with just a single point. Takes us to the heavyweight battle, which will close out the night, close out this first of the duels for both Virginia and NC State in ACC play this season, as Deontay Wilson and Quinn Miller take the mat. See Wilson right there in the heart of that Virginia logo, wearing that Wolfpack. Those trademark Wolfpack colors. He'll represent the 8-time NCAA title winners, the 45 All-Americans, the 17 ACC titles, ACC championships, I should say, and the 125 ACC titles that uniform boasts. And he's going to try and close strong what has been a solid night for NC State, a night in which they've won 6 of the first 9 matches. Wilson 2 for 2 in dual action this year. Major decision against App State his last time out. And for Virginia, Quinn Miller 4-0 on the season, a pair of bonus point wins to his credit. 4-0 versus 2-0, and something has to give once more between a couple of highly regarded wrestlers. 19th in the heavyweight classification for Quinn Miller, his ranking, and 17th for Deontay Wilson. Locked up right in the heart of the mat, right in the heart of the circle. A couple of meetings, as is always the case when you have two this talented in this weight classification last season. Wilson took both decisions. He won 5-1 in the duel and 7-1 at the ACC championships. So familiar foes closing in on the final minute of the opening round. Following up a 1-0 victory by J.I.L.O. Miller, looking for a best case scenario for Virginia of taking 4 out of the 10 bouts against NC State, but it would be the final 2 here. On the headline, the momentum perhaps moving forward into what is another challenge just ahead of Virginia, as they will turn their attention quickly to the Commonwealth Clash, and Virginia Tech next would like to carry some momentum into that one with the Hoos. And think about this for the Hoos. They have 4th-ranked NC State and then 8th-ranked Virginia Tech in Blacksburg back-to-back weeks. That'll be followed up by Pitt here in Charlottesville, Duke, same case, and then North Carolina, team that found its way into the rankings this week, I should say, on the road ahead of the ACC championships, which will keep them in North Carolina, as I mentioned earlier, hosted by NC State. Of course, everything culminating, as you well know by now, St. Louis, Missouri, the middle of March, 19th through the 20th to be specific, where the NCAA championships will take place. Well, after those two battled it out right over top of that UVA logo with nothing to show after the end of the first round, it was Wilson in the down position. And he gets away for the first NC State point. Credit Wilson with the escape. It's 1-0 with 90 seconds remaining, second round. Boy, there's nobody giving an inch to this point, with save for the escape by Wilson just a moment ago. Empire State native going right at Miller. On his junior campaign, he was seeded 22nd at heavyweight in 2019-2020. Had 3 ranked wins, all against ACC foes a year ago. Think about his high school career: 166 wins, a state champion at 285 as a senior. Was the first state champion for his high school, Amityville Memorial, since 2001. Only 2 losses he had in that 31-2 senior campaign were forfeits. You can see his athletic physique and know he also played a little high school football along the way. Has the advantage here at 1-0 with just a few ticks remaining in the second round. And the script has been flipped from the most recent bout, the 197-pound classification, in which Aiello carried a 1-0 lead against Nick Rennan for it. And he would take down Rennan by that count, 1-0. That's the advantage Wilson holds, as Quinn Miller is in the down position here now. Miller trying to get to his feet, and he will. And then taken down by Wilson. right at the edge of the circle there as it remains 1-0. So 98 seconds remaining, just under 100 seconds in the entirety of what has been a very entertaining duel between Virginia and NC State. It'll be up to Virginia's Quinn Miller. NC State's Deontay Wilson, who carries the momentum out of here. Wolfpack gonna make it 7 in a row against Virginia with the good work that has been done by the Pack already in this one. And trending toward a 20th consecutive win, which is the longest streak in the country. But it's Miller standing in the way of that very good closing taste in the mouths of the Wolfpack, as they would like to make it 7 out of the 10 bouts going into the direction of the crew out of Raleigh here tonight. But the redshirt sophomore out of Lilburn, Georgia, having other thoughts about it for UVA. 2020 qualifier in his own right. The heavyweight classification, and we talked about it. He came in ranked 19th with Wilson ranked 17th. So this, another one of those fairly evenly matched battles that you look forward to when you saw the card tonight. An early escape for Wilson, all that has been awarded. These upper classifications, the points hard to come by, as they have been between NC State and Virginia tonight. And just 20 seconds for Quinn Miller to do something from the precarious position as they hang on to the edge of the circle. And Wilson trying to salt the final seconds away. Do just that, as NC State, with the latest victory from Deontay Wilson of the 1-0 variety, ends up taking 7 of the 10 battles between the Wolfpack and the Hoos here tonight, and in doing so, they secure a 7th consecutive victory against Virginia. The final team score in this one, 23-9. Victories for Jacob Camacho, for Tariq Wilson, Ed Scott, Hayden Heidley, Daniel Bullard, Trent Heidley, and Deontay Wilson. And then on the Virginia side of things, Louis Hayes, Jake Keating taking down Thomas Bullard, and Jay Aiello over Nick Reenan, able to pick up victories for the Wahoos. But again, 23-9, the final. NC State's nation best winning streak, having been run to 20 consecutive, and they've won 7 in a row against the Virginia Cavaliers. That does it for us from Charlottesville. Reminder, you can watch this game as well as all on replay from ESPN. It's been a presentation of ESPN.